Bullets scattered across the floor, a dead corpse lying in the middle of a corridor, sirens wailing in the distance. What could this be? Oh yes, it's a mystery of course, and who better to solve it than Sherlock Holmes? Over a century after emerging out of the foggy streets of Victorian London, Sherlock Holmes is still universally recognisable. What an interesting character. But who is Sherlock Holmes? Holmes is an eccentric character who is depicted as a mysterious genius detective who roams about Victorian London solving crimes. With his eccentric traits and almost psychopathic ways of solving crime, he is an ideal figure to highlight the popularity of the crime fiction genre. Over the years, he has been reimagined and storyboarded into a variety of crime fiction stories that have developed into movies and shows through contemporary possibilities. However, we're not in Victorian London anymore, and technology has changed everything we do today. We can now watch shows and movies on demand from wherever we are, which has altered how we interpret crime fiction. By having these technological advancements, we are able to see a new contemporary setting of London and picture Sherlock and the other characters in a new light. Sherlock Holmes first appeared in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story A Study in Scarlet, which was contemporized into the BBC episode A Study in Pink. In the 21st century adaptation to Sherlock, he is perceived as a formal detective with distinct attire to his stereotypical look of a cloak, hat, magnifying glass, and pipe, which shows the adaptation from the old text. His eccentric behaviour is shown through the way he acts at the morgue in the first episode, by beating the dead body to see if it bruises. This is where genre conventions come in. Genre conventions are elements that build a genre or what the audience expects to see in that genre. These are seen throughout the episode and help the audience engage with the show and start to think like a detective themselves. Once the detectives arrive at the crime scene, Sherlock begins to analyse everything about the woman just by looking at her. Across the screen, supertitles appear, which engage the viewer from Sherlock's point of view, inviting them to get involved with the murder and solving the case. Sherlock's use of logic in this scene fulfills the detective genre in a contemporary way. A forensics team is also on the side of the murder, which shows a modern way of collecting evidence. New technology such as Sherlock interacting with his phone and CCTV or closed-circuit TV, which is seen from different spots on Baker Street, modernizes the way of solving crimes. The second story, The Adventure of the Dancing Men, includes many ciphers throughout the text that Sherlock has to solve by using old methods of code cracking. In episode 2, The Blind Baker, these ciphers are shown through graffiti across walls and paintings. Suspenseful music is also used as another detective fiction element throughout the show to make it more engaging for viewers as it builds up tension and keeps the audience on their feet. This was shown in The Blind Baker when the Asian woman discovered a body in the museum. Again, when the Black Lotus gang had Watson restrained in a tunnel and Sherlock entered the scene using logic to distract the gang as he fought each member and freed Watson to save the day. Sherlock has never been enthralled by the English legal system. He rather enacts his own form of natural justice. This is shown throughout the Sherlock TV show, first when Sherlock is confronting the street artist and again when Watson is left holding the bag, the expression meaning to abandon someone and force responsibility or blame onto them when Sherlock takes off with the street artist, leaving Watson with the police. Examples like these show Sherlock's connections allowing him to have a view into the crime underworld of modern London. The quote, "the game's afoot," that Sherlock constantly mentions before any major case, shows a direct link to his literature in past stories and how it has been contemporized as a part of the new modern Sherlock. It tells the audience that he has an extremely strong passion in what he does and tackles any crime with a bit of excitement. Sherlock Holmes is also a series of adventure games developed by Frogwares. The games are based on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories, featuring the detective Sherlock Holmes and his well-known companion Dr. John H. Watson. While the franchise is based on Doyle's stories, each game has an original plot and storyline. These games provide a first-hand look into the crimes that Sherlock Holmes solved, whilst providing the player with many different misleading outcomes and using the genre conventions like suspense and misdirection to keep the player interested. In the Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishments game, you as the host are in control of Holmes and are expected to explore an open world of mysteries and crimes. You solve mysteries from the source and are able to select your own path into finding the answer. By playing as Sherlock himself, you as a player are engaged and are required to be interactive with the story. Throughout the game, you are introduced to different characters that may assist you in solving the mystery, but may also become a red herring. A red herring refers to false information that may seem important but is misleading. Multimodal forms like these are often used to develop our contextual understanding and knowledge about certain characters. By taking on cases in the game, you are instantly asked the question of how do you find the clues and solve the mystery. Another multimodal element is imagery, as it's seen through notes, victims, symbols, ciphers, etc., which are hidden all around the open world. They provide importance to the player and can only be found by the player if they use their detective skills. The digital transformation of the way books are written, published, and sold has only just begun, with audiobooks and streaming services in high demand reaching a wider audience with their use of contemporary possibilities. The world of technology is ever expanding and introducing new opportunities, attracting a larger audience. Detective crime fiction is more engaging due to contemporary possibilities and is able to be more and more diverse in future adaptations. Sherlock Holmes is still appealing to today's society as a combination of his intellect, fascinating skills, deduction, and observation give him an interesting persona and draws us in. Once he involves himself in a case, nothing else matters until it is solved.